it feels like when you're trying to climb the hill, you're walking uphill in a blizzard, blindfolded with a knife. And the people on top, it's warm and sunny out, it's clear, no wind, and they got a gun.
Yes, it's not a fair
And they're
fight.
pointed down at the hill at you while you're climbing blind up the hill. That's the way it feels. Well, there is that
But
awareness.
that's a terrible.
And
Don't you think that's a terrible system? Hello and welcome back to Horse Bytes, the podcast, the pulse of show jumping. I'm Dani Waldman, your resident expert, and I'm joined, of course, with my fabulous co-host, SIGH-ve Pilo. She is our sport's biggest fan. Hi, SIGH-ve, welcome.
Morning, Dani. Lovely and early. But let's jump into the weekend. We had Riyadh and Lyon, another 5-star across the pond. Just a bit of a rundown, and then we can pop into what your favourite moments are. I thought atmosphere. Lyon won out. It's full. It's bright. The French fans got what they wanted, a top 3 finish. So it was like amazing atmosphere. Lyon, Riyadh. Not so much falls down a little bit, but I will say great jump off in Riyadh. Your favorite horse won.
I know.
Some great moments, like Gilles Thomas is having an unbelievable year.
Yep.
Courses were kind of mid both weeks, but I think both classes matched the mid kind of field strength. I think we saw good jumping this week.
Yeah, I agree. Between Riyadh and Lyon, I think they were both really good classes. Like Lyon got an unbelievable jump off. I thought Jana Vargers and Dorette, their jump off was maybe one of the fastest jump offs I've watched in a very long time. Like it was an insane jump off, like on the verge of like Pony Kid, where you were like, holy fuck, what is she doing? She was going so fast. So, but okay, it was awesome. It was great. I love that horse. It jumped amazing. So that was like exciting. But like you said, atmosphere in Riyadh looked less than stellar, but good class. And then in Lyon, we got a really good jump off, and the French like domination. All 3 French men ended up on the podium. So like it was really it was a good sort of week of show jumping. Like I saw some really good riding all weekend. That was something that I was struck by, was that I saw like really, really solid riding from people. Like the quality and the level of it looked very high, and that was nice to see. Yeah, I don't know. What were your standout moments?
One of my standout moments was I was a huge fan of Christian Almond's. Like he had a 9-year-old in Lyon, by United Touch, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I wanted to ask you, like, I wonder what Dani thinks of that horse.
Yeah, it's funny you say that actually, because Alan and I were watching the class together and we had a whole conversation about that horse, because him and I were debating, because we were saying how many people really love that horse. You see a lot of United Touch in it, right? Like the canter's very similar. It's super light. It looks really scopy. Like clearly United Touch brings a lot of scope into the breeding. So like yes, you got to appreciate the horse. It looks like an athlete, but it's just not my favorite horse. It doesn't come in the ring and make such an impression on me the way that it does on a lot of people. People really are nonstop talking about that horse, but I don't know, something about it just doesn't do it for me. Like I like a little bit of a poppier, I like Dorette. Right? Like if I see a horse that I love, I see Dorette, I see a really poppy, exciting horse that's explosive off the ground, and Untouched just sort of gets there and does what United Touch does, which is just lofty, high jumps with that sort of flatter gallop, very gummy horse. So, great qualities. Clearly, I see purpose and need in the breeding with it. But I don't know, that horse doesn't make an impression on me the way that I think it does on a lot of people.
Yeah, that's always a little bit of the sense. We always have those kind of arguments, like you always are looking for that most athletic sport horse, like a Foley, or like always a little bit.
Yeah, I want one that I want to ride. Like I want one that looks fun to ride. Untouched looks big and scopy, but like not, I want a motorbike under me.
Yeah, like in terms of controversy, because I know, and I actually can totally get what you're saying, but then you see the results after results after results, and it's like you'd nearly be shot down for saying that you're not the biggest fan. But Hermitage is a great example of that. Like you've never been the biggest fan, but like the clear rates, the now like individual level.
It's clearly an amazing horse.
Like, but he isn't that like top fast one. He's not going to give you a direct, exciting jump off ever. Like, that's just never going to happen. But there's like kind of values for all those horses in the sport, isn't there? Like, the variety's nice, and they all come and have their days. And
Yeah,
maybe one day
totally.
he'll jump a clear when no one else does.
That's true. I mean, look, same thing. Like, clearly, Hermitage is an amazing horse. It's obviously had incredible results. It's just, I don't know. It looks, it's like so metronome. Like, I don't get the excitement from it. But okay, it's obviously a wonderful horse.
And actually, I have to say, like, that's a really story from the year that I think I remember. Gilles was in Geneva last year, and they got a huge offer for Hermitage. And sometimes you see those things happen, and it's the fairy tale to think like they didn't sell it and they kept it, and then like something happens because of our sport where it just like doesn't work out. And I think it's actually been like, it's a great story that it really just has worked out unbelievably. Like, the horse has stayed really healthy, has had an even better year this year. He won, not only did he win like the overall, he's also like jumping in the playoffs, and he also won the overall team and the team that day based on his double clears. So like, I think that's an amazing story for the year. Like,
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, look, that horse has had an epic year. Gilles had an epic year. He won the championship title for the globals long before it was even over. You know, I mean, he knew coming into this week that he was already the winner. So, I mean, he's clearly had the standout year of anybody. And it's been because of that horse. But he also won how many Grand Prix on his other horse? So it's not like he wasn't winning on something else. But that horse in particular, I think, because of the Europeans medal and just that horse's clear rate is just so insane. It's always jumping clear. So I mean, he can just count on it.
But in saying that, I will say, like, my personal thing, and I've said this before, it's like, maybe it's that I know globals is European as well, but like, European bias, I actually love World Cup season. And I don't, like, you might talk about field strength, you might talk about like, oh, it's not the top sport, not the thing, but there's something so special about those indoors small arenas. It feels like it like catapults you into the past. You just feel like you're watching really good sport.
We were there last year, and the atmosphere was insane. I mean, you had like 7 or 8 thousand screaming French fans. It would like jump off last year, and this year just got like faster and faster and faster as the horses kept coming in. I mean, indoor jumping in Europe for the World Cup season is very different than other jumping that we see sort of around the world, and very different than the US sort of indoor season, or it's not even really their World Cup season, which most of it isn't even indoors. So I mean, I agree with you. Like, I really like watching them. Like, and I look forward to sitting and watching the week of World Cup finals, because I think it is really exciting.
Like, it just feels like it's now we're in a different season. Like, it's like we've had the big grass events of the year, and then it's like, oh, World Cup season is starting, and it feels like it just really breaks up the equestrian season because there is no end to the calendar. And like, from my perspective, it's like, okay, now it's World Cup season, and even though Geneva obviously isn't part of that, it feels like this side of the league builds up to Geneva a little bit. That's a big major. So like, it just feels like you get to see people try their different strings out. So sometimes you'll have a United Touch, but then you also have people have like some of the young horses, and you see they have, and maybe who's going to be like, then maybe some of the 9-year-olds now are starting to jump the 160s, and you're seeing who's going to be out there for next year. I'm like, I'm a big fan of the World Cup. In general, and I know there's that kind of controversy because like in Europe it's great, it leads up all to this like elusive final in April, but it's not the same on the other side in America. Do you agree?
No, I mean, I agree. I think it's not the same. And I think that we have somebody with us today, which is very exciting, who can actually weigh in on this amazing topic of the World Cups. And there he is, Karl Cook. Welcome, Karl.
It's great to be here.
But yeah, I don't think Karl needs any introduction, but obviously we thought it would be great to have you on today, Karl, because Dani and I ourselves feel like you are so strong individually. You won so much. You have a huge string of horses at the moment. Top 5-star horses. Caracal is Foxy on her way up and rising.
Of course.
Kalinka is back, right?
Good back.
So
Yeah.
we're wowed by you. We're big fans. I mean, and then we see sometimes the controversy of maybe like not being an Akin or politics, that gets maybe prevents you from getting to excel at the top of the sport at times. And I was like, why isn't Karl aiming to just like say like F you all, I'm gonna be World Cup champion where I'm individual, I'm on my own merit, I can go to all these classes, I can get there in April, World Cup champion, get the points, and be like, now what are you gonna say? Like, how are you not gonna put me on the team now?
I mean, Karl, you used to do the World Cups a ton. I mean, I remember back in the day. I mean, and that's even a part of the topic is like back in the day, US like cared about the World Cups very differently, I think, than they do now. But please, let's hear what you got to say.
I've dove you in deep there, Karl. Sorry, but we don't mess around.
I mean, there's like 3 or 4 questions in there. You started off talking about the great World Cup shows in Europe and comparing them to the US. And I think that's an important question. Uh, it's always different when you try to compare the US to Europe, but it's the same if you're trying to compare Europe to the Middle East or Riyadh or Doha or any of those shows. They're inherently different. And that character, charm, energy that you get at a European indoor show, you don't really get in the States. And it's just different, not better or worse. It's just
Do you
different.
think that's tradition based? I mean, do you think the fact that like these shows in Europe, a lot of these indoor shows are some of like the oldest horse shows in Europe, and it's just tradition, and you have like an educated, interested horsey crowd at the events?
You could say that about the outdoor shows in Europe.
Yeah, yeah, you could.
And I guess your second question, I guess me specifically, why I stopped focusing on World Cup finals, it was because initially, at least on the West Coast, if you wanted to do an FEI show, if you wanted to get points, if you wanted to try to move up the ladder in world ranking points and in US ranking, the only shows were World Cup qualifiers. And so you had to do those. And there's been such a great growth in the US on both coasts of so many more FEI shows, from smaller 2-star shows to more regional 3-star shows and 5-star shows. And that's a great thing. That's a growth of the sport. And a byproduct of that is then you don't have to only do the World Cup qualifiers because there's so many other starred shows. And at least
But
from
why prioritize then? Like why not prioritize the World Cups? I mean, you can pick and choose then how many 5 stars there are. Then why not prioritize something that is very individualistic, like to Sadhbh's question, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're talking specifically about a US rider, me being a US rider, I think a lot of that has to do with how the US picks their teams, whether it's in a non-championship year or in a championship year like we're coming into with World Games at Aachen, or last year going to the Olympics in Paris. The World Cup is a piece of that system, but it's just a piece. And it's not as influential in how the US picks their teams as you might assume.
But like basically, doesn't the U.S. pick like isn't the highest placed U.S. rider from the World Cup finals? They make it onto whatever that long list is essentially for
Yeah,
the team selection.
so if you get a seat on the short list, which is 10 riders, if you are the highest place, not already qualified to the US shortlist, and you're in the top 20 or 25. So you have to be at that point an outside member because we pick the top 4 riders December 31st, and then 3 or 4 more April 1. And so if you're not already on that list, that's 7 riders. If
Yeah.
you're not already on that, then the World Cup finals can be influential.
Well, what
And
if you look at it differently? What I mean, isn't it necessarily not just from the systematic way of choosing the teams, but like SIGH's point is, yeah, this is an opportunity as an individual rider where you can basically just go do your own thing. If you go and you win World Cup finals, I mean, you have horses, Karl, that are capable of winning World Cup finals. Like, just go and win it, and then regardless of what there's team selection or this and that, it's just another notch in your belt. It's another proof to the team selection, even if it's not about making it onto the short list. Like, just do it for your own merit.
Yeah, mine was a little bit more because I see it was in quite the highlights. So I was thinking like targeting to win World Cup finals. Like it's like kind of a known thing. Like maybe the US leagues aren't quite like Europe, but like why isn't that the finals something? Because I do think that that still holds quite a bit of merit in the
it
sport.
does, absolutely. For me personally, I wanted to go to the Olympics. So last year, specifically for me, it was about doing everything I could to get to the Olympics. And then,
Which proved very successful. Good job.
it worked out fine, but it was still about the goal and all the choices that we made in the lead up to that. And for anyone who's tried it or who's thinking about it, there's so many more choices than you could possibly believe. And it's not so much about the choices you make. There's so many more choices you don't make that actually a lot of times lead you to success. But for me personally, after the Olympics last year, my goal was I wanted then after that Aachen World Games 2 years later. And I wanted to earn my way onto that team. I wanted to jump double clear again in the team, like I did in the games, and then not miss the second round in the individual. That was just the immediate for me following the games. I understand your point about World Cup finals, and that it definitely is a goal and a notch on the belt, something to do, but it wasn't my next
I
step.
mean, do you think, I mean, why do you think that we don't see any of the, I mean, this is a judgment from looking at the way the US positions itself in the World Cup league and the World Cup finals and qualifying. I mean, a lot of times you look at the 10 US riders that end up going to World Cup finals, and I don't even know half the names. I mean, that's a weird situation. I remember back in the day, Kent used to go all the time, every single year. You used to go all the time. McLean used to go every year. I mean, these are people
Yeah.
that, like, I can't even remember the last time Laura went to a World Cup final. Like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not
I mean, I think
prioritized.
it was historically a lot more important, similarly to why it was important to me when I was younger. The World Cup final shows were the only FEI shows. It was the way you maintained your rank, and it was really important for your US standing. And over time, it's gotten less that way. It matters less for teams. And even like an off year like this year, before World Cup finals really started, we'd already selected our teams to Aachen
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the teams before that. And there are great benefits to that system of picking teams early because you can prepare and you can, all of that. Unfortunately, I wasn't in top form at the time I needed to get selected for Aachen.
Is that really
And
true though? I mean,
I
is that
knew
really true? I mean, come on. I mean, how many things had you done earlier in the year that
not nothing. I didn't do anything. I was supposed to do week 9 of Wellington, and I didn't go well in the WEF, so I didn't do the Grand Prix. And then week 12 with Caracal, I did fine in the WEF because I was just trying to qualify. Then I had 4 faults in the Grand Prix, and 4 faults isn't bad, but it wasn't clear, and I didn't jump clear in that class. I didn't jump clear in week 9, and there were other U.S. riders who had done better. They had also done Ocala. They had, so it made sense if you're selecting teams at that point.
You know, it's so difficult because it's so funny being on the outside and looking just from results. And of course, when you're watching the results in the classes, you're not thinking like you're saying, "How why is Karl not an and he just won like a major 5 star just before." So watching that from the outside, you're just thinking, "Why? What? Like this is ridiculous. Why isn't Karl there?" But why can't someone switch out? I don't really understand that. Why can't
I
you?
mean, you can design a system however you want. It's just the U.S. team has decided to. Honestly, we had been asking for it. So it's not like, some powers that be on some platform up in the air
You
with
wanted
no.
earlier selection?
Many of us wanted earlier selection because the thinking was if you had earlier selection, you could
Prepare.
prepare, you could think about what shows to do, what classes to do with those shows. If you had that opportunity of a long lead time, that gift of a long lead time, you could pick your program. And that could theoretically mean you could show better. You could have better results at that show you were selected for. Or it would show you that your preparation was not correct. I could also take the results side, and if you look at the U.S. results this year so far in Nations Cup and five-star shows in Europe, we had a really good year.
Yeah, you had an amazing
So,
year. I mean, the U.S. overall's had an incredible. I mean, between you, Laura, Kent, I mean, you guys are just, you win every class you guys go in.
Aaron,
Yeah. Yeah, Aaron
Aaron,
also.
You
the
didn't
the
do too
team in
bad
Aachen, the
last.
team in Rome, we were high up in Falsterbo as well. The team, it was we had a great year, and I wonder you know if part of that is we get some more of a lead time. It's always going to be just a part. It's not the whole, and it could just be chance that we just got lucky a whole bunch of times. The system is kind of working.
You see it now. Like you've had incredible results all season. You talk about team selection going forward. I mean, at what point do the politics come into play with those team selections? Like, how many more results do you need to have as a rider in the US to make it on those teams?
I think it's really important when you talk about the US system. You really have to understand how the US does their points because the US doesn't select teams on FEI points. They select teams on the USCF ranking list. And if you actually look at the math behind it and how that's given and taken away, it gives you a lot more immediate snapshot of the riders there. Instead of a rider getting really high and then having no horses, but very slowly sinking down,
Okay.
the US list, it's up and it's down at the same speed. It was built and designed to give a very accurate representation of the horse rider pairs at that time.
Okay.
I would argue that the FEI should adopt something similar.
I would agree with that.
This is a deeper topic, but if you look at where the points are, where the top 20 riders get their points, it is not their top horses.
Huh.
And so if you're saying a rider is the number one rider, but 70% of their points don't come from a five-star Grand Prix, that's a problem for me personally. That's like saying Lando Norris leading the F1 World Championship, 70% of his points to win the championship came from F2
Yeah.
or F3.
Right, which
It
has
just
no relevance.
it,
It's not that it has no
so
relevance. I mean, it just has. It
it's
has.
different.
It's
It's
just
different.
different. It's not
Yep.
top
And
sport.
the big thing the US system does is it weights who you competed against in that class, not the prize money. Where in FEI points, all that matters is the prize money in that class. It doesn't matter if there's 25 in the class or 50 in the class. It doesn't matter if 20 of the top 20 were in it or zero of the top 20 are in it. It does not matter. It is just prize money based
Yeah.
for that class. Where the US point system takes into account how many you competed against and who they were, meaning where they're ranked. And so I think that system is a good system. And then how you weight that is a whole other basket of worms.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like the stats companies, like the ELO ratings of the horses and stuff like that. That's based. They win and lose points based on who they're in. It's a little bit more. I mean, Equiratings' whole purpose of being is because of like that system being flawed.
But also the FEI ranking, the way you get points was decided by the IJRC. It's not the FEI's fault that of how that ranking list is tabulated. But if you talk about the politics of the US team, look, you have to go in, you have to jump clear, and you have to win. And that's the way it should be. Before I jumped my first 5-star Nations Cup in Europe ever, I had won 2 5-star Grand Prix. I was second and a third, jumped double clear in 2 others in the Americas, sure, somewhere in Florida, somewhere in California, somewhere in Mexico. But that was multiple 5-star Grand Prix before I was ever on a Nations Cup.
I mean, in my opinion, that seems reasonable. That seems how it
Yeah, but
should
you,
be.
you have plenty of people who are wondering why they're not getting a shot. And you look at the results and you're like, well, I mean,
It's not enough.
like
Yeah, you
you're
didn't do
getting good
enough.
results.
Yeah.
You're in the classes. You're able to get into the classes. That's great. But look at the results and or the period of time that you got the results. It's about jumping clear and jumping clear repeatedly with the same horse.
I mean, I think that that's a completely accurate statement. And I think that you see so many riders that say, like, oh man, it should be this way, it should be that way. But okay, we've seen you also be left off teams that don't seem like you should be left off, or have to fight to get onto teams that, based on these results, based on all this merit that you're talking about, where does that come into play in our sport? Like, how much does solely merit overshadow any kind of politics?
I mean, it should. I mean, you want the young generation to have to fight and earn their spot. I also believe that every person should have to fight and earn their spot. I don't care what they did 5 years ago on another horse with another horse team. I don't care what they did 10 years ago. If they're not competing well at the time and someone else is competing better, then the person competing better in the lead up
Deserves a spot.
deserves the spot.
I mean,
And I think that's the right way to do it because it's more, merit based.
it's so hard, isn't it? Because like I just know from the Irish team and stuff, and I would always believe like, yeah, why are some people basically just automatically given a place? You know, if they have a horse, they're gonna be on the team. And then like I'm like, I don't agree with that. I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong. And then like, and I'll just call a spade a spade. Keane O'Connor is that in Ireland, and he pulls it the clear out like all the time.
Yeah, but there's also if you come up with examples like that, and I 100% agree with that example, there's also examples the other way.
Yeah,
And the ramifications of, say, Kean going around, jumping 16 faults, the ramifications on his career, it would be a blot, but it wouldn't be that big of a deal. If someone that was younger did the same thing, it would be crushing for their career. I don't believe you should ever get to a place where you earn a bad result counting for less. I don't know. There's something against like competitive spirit, you know, where you did so good in the past that if you do bad in the future, it's not as bad.
I mean, it's a good point. That's
That's just
it's a real point, that like somehow current form should matter far more than historical results.
because it's also something that the people trying to fight up the hill, they don't have the past. So basically, and it feels like when you're trying to climb the hill, you're walking uphill in a blizzard, blindfolded with a knife. And the people on top, it's warm and sunny out, it's clear, no wind, and they got a gun.
Yes, it's not a fair
And they're
fight.
pointing down at the hill at you while you're climbing blind up the hill. That's the way it feels, whether it is that way or
But
not.
that's a terrible.
And
Don't you think that's a terrible system to set it up like that?
yeah, I mean, I don't, that is definitely not a US only way of doing things.
I don't agree with it, but technically everyone should have been that person that had to like get past the person with the gun. Same in business, that it's like, oh, if you've had to really fight to become a like top tier, should you make it that so difficult for everyone else? I don't think that system's good. But then at the same time, like, isn't all sport a little bit like that? Like, isn't everyone going to really want to see Ronaldo knock it out the park at the World Cup at like 40 years of age next year in America when like he probably isn't like the best striker, and like people love.
Look, if you fight your way up the hill and you actually get there. It is human nature to try to make your spot there more comfortable.
For sure.
That doesn't make it right, but it's human nature.
Yeah, the problem is though, if you have a bunch of young people constantly sort of climbing and then getting an opportunity and getting an opportunity, you can lose a lot of the great results that you can get from the people that have been in it the longest. I mean, you run the
Yeah.
risk of having these like young teams where like, all right, somebody's kind of on fire, put them on a team, great. But if we keep doing that all the time, and then like the people that have climbed that hill, made it to the top, proved themselves, and then you don't have that depth in the team, I think that your results overall probably would go down.
Look, every decision has a positive or negative. You also have, if you want to get into these Nations Cups, you have to send a good team. Because if you send a shit team, or if you send a team of hot people that you believe like these are like the next generation, and they go out and just do terrible
They bomb.
for whatever reason, then that Nations Cup organizing committee is not going to want to have your nation back the next year.
Yeah.
And there is politics between who gets invites to different countries' Nations Cups. Like, let's say, country A didn't let country B into their Nations Cup. So country B didn't let country A into their Nations Cup. That stuff, that happens. And it's not in the US, it's in Europe. And so, you're incentivized as a chef to keep, as a national federation, to send the best team to get the best result. And oftentimes you lean on seniority
I think that,
because
but I think because you're yeah, you have to protect your spot.
and if you send seniority and it goes poorly, you can say, look, we sent our top names.
Yeah.
They just had a bad day. And
Yeah.
then it doesn't affect you the same. Even if you sent younger people and you had the same result, the same number of faults, it would be perceived differently.
Yeah.
And so that's another angle of this whole game. It's not just politics of your own national federations, it's politics between national federations and nations cups. All that stuff has knock-on effects that if you don't see the roots of, you miss the trees, but you see the leaves.
No, I mean, I hear you. I think uh, it's a complicated thing, but I think it's not so uncommon to almost all sports. I mean, I think a lot of sports, there are politics in all sports, in all types of things, and the politics are part of what make it competitive.
I mean, they're yeah, especially a lot of sports teams are also like they're also businesses, and like
Yeah.
sometimes character goes a long way. There's different strengths and weaknesses of everyone, and like that, you do sometimes say, "What the hell is that person on the team?" And then they just like pull it out of the bag, and then it's like, okay, maybe
That's
that's
why.
why.
Yeah, you're like, that seems to be why.
Yeah.
Karl, I would ask you what the plan is on the road to Aachen of 26, but I think you drilled in jump, clear, win. Um,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's always, people are like, well, okay, so what should I do? I'm like, well, jump clear. I don't, this is
Like, what else do you want me
it's
to
not
tell
rocket
you?
science, guys. But, ideally, again, in the US system, we pick the top 4 riders as of December 31st on the USEF ranking list, not on the FEI ranking list. And those 4 riders are the first 4 we select to the short list. So ideally, you make it in that group of 4
okay. And
because
where?
then your first quarter of the year, January, February, March, are easier
Yeah. Because you can
and
relax a little bit.
a
You
little
don't have
bit.
to push
Yeah,
so hard to try to win all the big classes. You can actually
because
build a little bit.
exactly.
Uh,
Um,
where are you sitting at the moment then in that top 4?
oh God, I don't know.
Yes,
You
you
don't
do.
know.
You know.
You do.
No, it changes too much. I have a 3-star and 3 5-stars left in the year, and I feel like if I have good results in those, I'll be in the top 4.
Do you think that, like, okay, we talked a little bit about the World Cup season in Europe and then World Cup. Some of the bigger shows in the US, at least now are World Cups. But again, I mean, do you think that anyone who's thinking about the World Games is even remotely concerned about the World Cup in the US? Or do you think, again, the
No,
US,
the outliers are.
it acts almost as a secondary like qualification system for the maybe the one-off combination that's hot at the moment, and that the main four people just don't really need to utilize the World Cup system. But then it makes for, when you talk about World Cups, it makes it this incredibly Eurocentric event. And like basically all your top US people are just never gonna go to World Cup finals again.
World Cup system's always been Eurocentric. Our sport is Eurocentric. That's
Okay,
just
fair.
part of the course. But again, especially in a championship year, by the time World Cup finals rolls around, we've already picked 7 of our 10 shortlist people. So World Cup is for an outlier or someone who's already on the team that has a really deep string that's like, you know what? Let's send it.
But is that not you? I mean, you have 3 horses that are capable of jumping 5 stars. You could say, we're going to take 2 of them and focus on on Aachen for the World Games. And you're like, well, I got another one. Like, why don't I also try to do World Cup finals?
Well, who knows where we'll be in April?
Okay. All right. So, see, maybe you will go.
There is a chance that, it's not down the road for me. Texas, even though in my country, is like a 20-hour drive. And I'm only halfway across the country.
Right. I mean, it's not saying that it's closer, easier, it's almost like more
it's a long
convenient.
way.
It's easier to get to Europe probably on an airplane.
And sure, obviously, I would love to do well at World Cup finals. I'd love to win World Cup finals. It's one of the championships. Doing it in your own home country is even better. For me, my goal next year is World Games. And so we'll do everything we can to maximize our chances at World Games. And
do you think it's hard as an athlete to try to have to focus on 2 different things? Like, do you think that that's too difficult to sort of ask?
No, I don't think so, but I would say it a different way. I think horses, as much as we refine our programs and as much as we go for as much consistency as possible, and even when you look at the results of certain athletes and their extreme consistency, if you look behind the scenes, it's organized chaos, and it's shocking that it actually, turned out the way it did. And so if I'm projecting forward, I can't say that just because I had a really good summer in Europe, that's just going to cascade into next year, ride the wave, everything's going to be great 5 months from now. Heck no. There's too many variables, and there definitely is a chance that I would go. But my goal is World Games. So if I have to not go to World Cup finals to increase my perceived chance of World Games, I will do it.
Okay. I think that's probably the case with most of the top riders in the US also. I would think that I would think that that's probably what most riders are thinking. Like, okay, I'm going to focus on World Games. World Cup finals is either a stepping stone to that, or I need to skip it intentionally in order to increase chances. So like you said, I mean, but then that does sort of solidify my feeling that in the US, World Cup finals is now weirdly a stepping stone for the younger generations, since they are not.
Which is great.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, look, that's a major championship. It's great for them, but it's no longer a main priority of the top riders, especially on championship years.
And I think that would be a little bit fall into Europe as well, just not as much because the string in Europe is so much longer. But like you see top European riders not prioritizing the
World Cup.
For the World Cups anymore.
Yeah.
You do. You see in split. But we're just so much richer in Europe. Well, thank you so much, Karl. I think we had a few hot topics within our own conversation, but we will wrap it up now and we'll all give our little hot topic.
Ooh. I don't know. I mean, it's how controversial do I want to be, or
let's hear it, Karl. Let's hear your biggest hot take at the moment. I'm sure you've got an opinion about something.
I'm sure you have a diary full of them.
I mean, I try to toe the line. I don't know. I believe sometimes the fan base follows the wrong horses.
Okay,
Okay, explain.
elaborate.
And what I mean by that is the fan base kind of falls for the trick that a lot of people trying to buy young horses fall for. They watch Flash. Very often, that Flash doesn't actually win, and it doesn't win that often. Where it's often that kind of ugly, scrawny thing that's never flashy, that's very efficient, that does their job with their rider just so well, they have way more consistent results instead of one great show and then, I like those horses and those horse rider pairs that are consistent performance instead of great and then not great. And I wish we would not prioritize just these flashy, crazy jumping horses that they jump crazy and then they'll just dink a little rail. And you're like, oh, well, who cares about that? What do you mean? Who cares? They had just had a rail. Like that is a big problem where the horse that skirts over and then has a rail, like, oh, it's a four faulter. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I like the efficient, fast horses.
How do you think we can?
Not,
How do we think you can like get people to like those horses?
I don't know.
Yeah.
They assume the higher the horse jumps over the fence, the more capable they are. And I don't think that's the case. I think it's those consistent results where you don't have deep valleys. Those are the horses that I like.
Okay, but I mean, Hermitage is a perfect example of that. I mean,
Doesn't win.
it doesn't win, but it's always jumping clear. I mean, results are still there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
I
60.
agree, but
Right.
if you're looking for that,
I mean,
like
I'm not the biggest Hermitage fan. So you're
Hermitage
talking to
is
someone who
definitely
doesn't love that, but it's not flashy. That's not a flashy horse, but it has
he isn't,
consistent
but his
consistent
also his
results.
results aren't flashy. He's
Are
a
they
clear.
not?
Like, I love him because he's and Jill is unbelievable with him.
I mean, Gilles is. I mean, I think Gilles deserves all of the credit and all of that. Honestly, regardless of following the horse, he's had an amazing
I
season.
think if you're able to win a Grand Prix and jump double clear consistently, that's what matters. And then the ones we should follow, jump double clear and go fast.
Okay. I
Because
mean,
that's the goal of our sport, right? Is being consistent and being able to go
yeah,
fast.
yeah,
So
literally.
the first bar is jumping double clear consistently. And the second bar, the real special ones, jump double clear consistently, go real fast.
Yeah, jump high, run fast. Like that.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
Do it once every 6 months, cool.
You have one of those as well because like United is obviously super flashy. Maybe doesn't always jump the double clears, but he's never been beaten when he's jumped clear in a jump off, and he is really fast but really flashy.
But also has big
How
dips. So is
often?
that a horse that falls
Here's a
in that
statistic,
category?
and because I kind of know the statistic, you guys can look it up. Of the horses who
We
get to a
trust you.
jump off, what is their statistic of winning after they're clear? Not if they're clear in a jump off, but if they're clear in a first round, what's their stat of winning? So, like, if you see
Yeah,
Hermitage in a jump off, what's the likelihood that he wins the class?
Low,
very
Okay.
low.
very low.
And even a horse like United Touch might be not that high because he might have rails in a lot of them. But if he's clear, then he
Yeah,
wins. But what about all the other ones where he wasn't clear in the jump off?
yeah, it's true.
Okay, wait. What is the actual number? You said you know the
Look at
stat.
Like,
Caracal. Her
really?
bar name is Caracal.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I know.
I
Look at
was like,
Rolly.
who?
Well, I'm sure that stat's very high.
What is her stat?
100%.
Well, I was beaten
Close to.
I was beaten once.
Every single
Dick.
jump off.
But
You're
I
beaten
was second
once.
in the class, so it doesn't
Oh, I remember that class.
Oh, I remember.
But I think I love the stats and I love how they're coming out more. I think there's just more refinement for the ones that actually show true greatness.
mean, I'm with you on that. I agree. I mean, I think that some horses get a big name that maybe aren't well deserved, and horses that are more under the radar actually have better results. Leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay, SIGH-ve, what's your hot take?
My hot take. I'm going to keep it really simple and short and say I always think about it, and with globals coming out and with their huge big prize money, it was 500 grand. Prize pot this week, Leon was 300, and money does not buy prestige. Like, I just think, obviously you guys as riders maybe go for your prize money, but I think like Leon for me definitely won out this week as a better class to watch as a fan, even if it's just had that atmosphere, had that real show jumping. And I think globals pumps up themselves with flash and smoke and mirrors, but I just don't think they have the substance behind them.
Okay. I feel like we are not disagreeing. No one's really disagreeing.
I don't know if that's a hot take. It might be a been around for a while take.
Yeah. All right. Well, my hot take is after watching this weekend, I saw actually quite a lot of like younger riders, especially some of the younger French riders in Lyon, ride really well. And then I was thinking, I also happened to follow a little bit of what was going on at the National Horse Show and the junior weekend. So my hot take is that, and we talk about meritocracy and merit in the sport, that actually I'm seeing some very, very good riding from a lot of the younger people, but those riders are almost all children of professionals. And like, if you look at JJ Toronto, even Molly Ash's daughter is up high, Olivia Sweetnam, Shane's daughter. I mean, these are some Americans, but like Mark Hautsager, I think Eve Hautsager is her name. She was very good in the European Championships for the young riders here in Europe. I mean, most of these top riders that are coming up, the juniors and everybody who's looking like really, really good riders, they seem to all be coming from professionals' children. And you're seeing less and less really great riding from people that don't have a horsey background. And I think we're losing a little bit of that horsey basics and basis from people that are coming in from the outside. So I think that horsey understanding and background is, and maybe training from a young age, they're starting early, they're getting a lot of professional advice from people who really know what they're doing early on in their careers. It's making a difference.
Yeah, but that's always been the case. You had skilled training from an early age, and we have less of that now. Our pony clubs are less skilled. And now that
I don't know, but there seemed like there was a dip for a while where I was like, where is the youth coming from? Where is this good riding coming from? And all of a sudden, watching this weekend, I saw all of a sudden, I was like, oh, there's some really good riding going on at the moment. And maybe it just happens to be that a couple of kids were born really talented and they happen to be professionals' kids. But it seems like it's on the rise, and I don't remember that in more recent years.
Yeah, the era's changing, maybe.
That's sort of what I feel like.
As it always does.
Yeah, as it does. I mean, there's always ebbs and flows.
Thank you so much, Dani, and Karl especially, for joining us very late in the evening.
Yeah, but Karl, it's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for always bringing your very well thought out and interesting takes on what's going on in the sport, sharing a little bit about your own career. And hopefully you will come to World Cup finals, because we are World Cup fans and we would love to see you there. You're kind of sorely missed at the moment in some of these World Cup shows. So we personally would love to see you there. And if not, of course, we hope to see you in the World Games.
I would love to go.
Thanks so much, Karl. And we'll chat with you guys next time. Thanks for joining us on Horse Bytes, the podcast, the pulse of show jumping.